Hello, gamers, and welcome to episode 11 of the Sounds of Stadia podcast. This week, we talk about the upcoming Game Awards, some of our impressions, and much more news relating to Google Stadia. So, without further delay, on to the show. Hello, gamers, and welcome to episode 11 of the Sounds of Stadia podcast. I'm joined by my usual co-hosts in the Stadia seats this week, Tom and Richie.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to this week's show, lads. I hope your gaming has been good this week with plenty of Stadia action. We wanted to kick off this show by reminding you all about the exciting live stream we've got coming up this next Saturday. That's the 14th of December at 6 p.m. UK time. We should probably say 2019 as well, just in case anyone's listening in the future. You've missed your chance already. We'll be streaming across YouTube and Twitch on the Sounds of Stadia channels, so remember to follow us and subscribe so you don't miss out on the start times. Or you can join us halfway through, depending on your time zone around the world. We'll be posting updates all week to keep you in the loop with that, so just check us out over on Twitter and other social media platforms. So if you have been waiting on tender hooks the last few weeks to know what we actually look like, now is your opportunity to put a face to the name and finally witness how bad that we actually are all at video games collectively. Yeah. And we'll probably have some drinks and stuff in there as well. We do plan on giving away a special buddy pass as a special thing for viewers. So those of you who've been out there in the forums begging people for buddy passes, no doubt you've all seen it. People are desperately suddenly interested in Stadia now that it's out there and people have free codes to give away. So if you are one of those people, stay tuned and we'll have a special giveaway.
Come on down.
Mine off. With mine, you get my friendship as well. So I'll start the auction at 1 million.
Oh wow! So so join us next Saturday, and you could purchase one buddy's pass for 1 million, or you could just stay along with the live stream, and hopefully you'll pick one up. We've got a really ingenious way of distributing that as well, so don't miss out. And I think we also wanted to just thank all the Stadia supporters out there who have been going over to patreon.com/Sounds of Stadia, signed up for the founders level for that small tiny amount of 78 pence and give us some support over there. So remember, if you like what you hear, you can jump on, give us some extra bit of support, which is really going to help us with future live content and push us to do more for you and more of what you actually want to see. So that's enough for the show updates. Stay tuned over social media. But for the beginning, let's start by jumping into
the super sexy Special Stadia Stories segment, aka the news. Oh, nearly. We nearly
also,
had that one.
Without ridiculously loud sound effect from last week. Yeah. So apologies for those of you who were deafened by that last week.
Just thought I'd add a little bit of romance to that there, and
I like
subtle tones, you know.
I feel well seduced.
Hey.
Oh, maybe you'll get a discount on that buddy pass then, Tom. If you keep
maybe that's the plan. Second account. Let's go, babe.
Work it down. Excellent. So we've got a little bit light on Stadia news as expected this week, but we've still got some juicy stories to jump into, and we've got a big topic of the show centered around the Game Awards. So stay tuned throughout the episode, and we'll get onto that topic as well. But I think to start off with, lads, we'll jump into. Always got to start the week off with something nice and positive. So the Farming Simulator edition that dropped on the free Pro subscription games for December had a little bit of a mishap during the week. So those eagle-eyed viewers of the app out there will have noticed that your free Pro games was not the promised Platinum edition of the actual game. It was the Standard edition. So those of you who enjoy farming out there and wanted those extra content add-ons that comes alongside with the Platinum Edition, I don't even know what the content was, but I'm sure it was an extra tractor for your garage, or maybe some extra corn distribution service, something along those lines. Who knows? But either way, they messed up on that on the free games, but they've since corrected it, and you can now get your Platinum Edition of Farming Simulator 2019 for free.
Yeah, credit given to them that they sorted it out very quickly.
Yeah. Bit of a mix-up.
Someone at Stadia is probably a bit pissed that someone published the wrong graphic, but...
Hey.
Yeah, it must. Yeah, I think out of the two ways it could have went, do we think that the mix-up was the initial graphic that went out on social media showing the Platinum Edition was simply the wrong cover, and they thought, oh, we'll see if we can release the base model and no one will notice, because no one on the internet notices anything as subtle as that.
I think it probably was just the graphic. I don't think it was anything untowards. Like someone put the wrong. It's probably meant to be the base model. Someone put the wrong graphic up and fuck, upgrade everyone.
I think that's probably the way it's gone as well. I think they've released the edition they always intended to, and whoever was in charge of the social media account for the distribution of the advertisement opted to screenshot the wrong version. It's a shame we didn't get the Tomb Raider definitive edition for Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
Yeah,
that would have been nice. A cool 55 quid save for a really decent game as well. But alas, it was a mishap, as we've been so accustomed to over the last couple of weeks. But once again, they've rectified it quickly, just like they did with the Tomb Raider issues as well. Anything else to add to that story, or is it quite put a cap on that? It's all done.
I think that's it.
Pretty straightforward. Has anyone jumped into Farming Simulator out of curiosity?
No, I believe we might be holding on to that for, I don't know, maybe a special event of some sort in future, but I won't say any more than that.
Tom?
What?
Who knows?
Is that an event in mid-December by any chance?
Who knows?
Saturday the 14th, per chance, where you can buy Richie's love.
6 o'clock GMT.
GMT. So, yeah, we'll no doubt be streaming some Farmulator. Farmulator?
Farmulator.
That's a new word. Farmulator 2019.
Sequel to the Terminator.
That's actually the edition that comes out. Yeah, that's the edition that
Farmulator.
comes with it. You get the Farmulator 5000. It grows corn for your delightful needs. So yeah, Farming Simulator. Is anyone out of the three of us actually that interested in Farming Simulator?
Maybe for some laughs.
It's quite
I'm
a niche.
interested because I have it, but that's it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
I heard
same
somebody got banned from some of the servers very quickly on Stadia because they thought it was a good idea to drive into other people's farms and start ruining things. So, it could be a laugh. But hey.
I didn't realise it was online.
There you go.
Fine. Oh, now that makes it a totally different game. I'm getting Grand Theft Auto vibes from this game now.
Racing tractors,
destroying other people's farms, setting cornfields on fire.
We need to get adjacent farms and optimize it.
Did we check the age rating for Farming Simulator? Is it an 18 R-rated?
Gonna guess no.
Yeah, you never know. That's how what's it called? Started off Plants vs Zombies. That was all just plants. Then look where that ended up. So, anyway, moving on to other more exciting stories. The Google Assistant is now available through the Stadia controller. So for those of you with an Android device who are familiar with Google's voice assistant, she is now built into your controller and can help with anything around your home. If you've got Google Home setups currently in place, turn your light switches on, turn your Christmas tree on, turn the heating on and off, whatever your desire may be, you can do it whilst you're gaming as well. Obviously, there's going to be some more integration that coincides with this over time. We know Google have already mentioned that you're going to be able to pull up YouTube videos, hints and tips, and you're going to be able to jump around through the Stadia interface using the Google Assistant. So, for example, hey, insert giant multi-corporational title here. Could you please play Tomb Raider on the Chromecast TV in the living room? And it'll pick up from there without you having to faff around and alter stuff using the good old controller. Have either of you two had a chance to try it out?
I don't really have a Google Home set up too much, so I did a quick few Google searches and was like, okay, it's there. That's about as far as I've went with it.
I'm planning on going through the process over the holidays of upgrading my home a little bit with things like installing Google Home and a couple of other devices around the place as well. Also thinking about picking up a second Chromecast Ultra as well to hopefully mean I can jump quite seamlessly between room to room. So I haven't had a chance to try it out yet, but I'm hoping by the time that we get around to the holidays that, we'll give it a shot and we can feedback after that. How about yourself, Chris?
I've pressed it and I've asked it questions, and some things it does, some things it doesn't. I've got quite a good setup at home with the whole Google Home Smart setup. I've got several of the mini devices. I've got several Chromecasts already to the TVs. So I'm actually hanging off. Hopefully Stadia's going to roll out to just standard Chrome sticks, which again, if I'm not expecting 4K HDR on the smaller televisions around the house, I hope I don't have to go out and buy specifically Ultras, because I've already invested in that infrastructure. And again, if it's just streaming the content, I don't know if they've officially said it's going to come to
They've only ever mentioned Chromecast Ultra, so I wouldn't expect it to go up to the normal ones, to be honest.
I'd hope so. I mean, if they can get it to play on a Chrome browser on a rubbish £99 Chromebook, I can't understand why it wouldn't be able to cast to a Chrome TV.
Yeah, I suppose it all depends on the hardware within the Chromecast, like a Chromecast itself. I haven't actually looked into the specs between the Chromecast and the Ultra itself, but surely as you say, if you can play it on a low-spec computer or laptop, or even a crappy phone or tablet, then realistically, it might be possible. It's probably just the OS.
It's the same, it's the same premise. It's the same Netflix and everything streams from it. It does everything else the same. Just the Ultra does it in a better resolution. So
might be something to do with the base Chromecast, how quickly you can send information from it to Google rather than the other way around.
Yeah, I know there's no Ethernet port on the standard editions. Yeah. However, though, you can do it over Wi-Fi. So I suppose a lot of this is based on your internet connection. So fingers crossed, we'll probably hear some more about that in 2020. But that's just a little tidbit. Again, we know these new features are going to be rolled out gradually across the Stadia app and the platform. So hopefully we'll see some more use and utilities out of the Google Assistant as time goes on. I read in other stories and other news an interesting article this week around anyone who purchased some additional controllers. Apparently the charging brick doesn't come in the box. So you just get your USB-C cable. What are our thoughts on that?
So you don't actually get the power brick itself, the adapter to connect
you don't
it
get
to the power socket.
You don't get the plug, essentially. You get the cable, but not the plug.
I think this has been fine for like Sony and Xbox because you can plug directly into your console. You don't have that with Stadia, so I think this is a mistake, to be honest.
But there's a lot of assumptions that people might be using this for portable tech, laptops, and so on as well. So like you can obviously whack it into the USB port in a laptop and it's going to charge. So maybe they're keeping that in mind. Plus, I'm pretty sure when you buy a new PlayStation controller, a new Xbox controller, you don't get any way of charging it on mains. You have, as you said, Richie, you've got to plug it into a console. So it's sort of like the assumption is there that you're going to have a computer or laptop anyway, or some other way, or nobody's. Correct me if I'm going to be wrong here, guys, but nobody's actually going to be buying an additional controller. Actually, no, this could be a problem because if you're only planning on buying the controller and not the Stadia package, then it could be an issue.
Like a Buddy Pass user.
Yeah, especially when this comes to Stadia base. If you just bought the controller and then you get nowhere to plug it in.
I still feel like enough people have some sort of way to plug it into a USB that it shouldn't be an issue.
It's an annoyance rather than a massive controversy.
Yeah. I mean, I can give you some insight into why that may be. So from my industry that I work in, the mobile phones, there's quite a lot of companies out there who also don't provide a power brick when you buy a modern mobile phone. And the assumption is that your previous generation mobile phone has a power brick already. A lot of people's households no doubt have several lying around in a drawer or a spare or a backup from their old device. I think previous companies, Motorola, who were owned by Google briefly before they sold them back off because they wanted to focus down their own pixel range. The Motorola devices also only came with a cable, and it's something to do. I know in Europe, in the EU, there are regulations about cutting costs around being economically friendly, hence why Apple are finally going to switch over to USB-C cables, if they've not already. I know they have for some of their iPad range. They're going to be doing that for their iPhones as well going forward. So it's all this eco-friendly kind of setup. And I think, you're right, Richie, in saying it's such a small...
to be honest, I'm a bit cynical on this. I think, yes, it is more eco-friendly, but I think that is more of an excuse to justify cost-cutting.
It's a bit of an assumption being made. And arguably, you probably shouldn't. If I opened up a box with a product in it and I had a charging cable, but I didn't have any way of connecting it to the mains, I probably am going to be a little bit pissed off with that. But... it's neither here nor there for people who already have the founders editions, the premier editions, and so on. But I can see that pissing some people off down the line. So who knows? They might add it onto the store. They might start including it as a standard. But it is a bit of an assumption.
I think push comes to shove. Yeah,
it's still not as bad as the 3DS XL, which didn't come with an AC adapter, and that wasn't standard USB either.
Yeah, Nintendo
was a dick move.
Doing that.
Easy console, which you can only charge using this cable, doesn't come with it.
Nice.
Yeah, the old pin adapters.
Yeah.
But thankfully, we're getting to a world where everything is being charged USB-C, and if you live in a household that doesn't have a USB port of some kind to charge it, whether it is on your smart TV or your laptop or another console, or you don't have a brick lying around, Stadia's probably not in your mindset, your mind's eye at the moment. If that's the kind of old out-of-date tech area that you're living in, but again, it's a problem for some people, I'm sure, but it's not really that big of a problem if we drill it down. So keeping on the bandwagon of updated news stories that came out this past week, a big one, to none of our surprise, was the Pro deals have left the Stadia storefront.
Wow.
And as predicted, I think we were all right. There was no Cyber Monday sale after all.
Surprise, gents.
Yeah.
Surprise.
Well done, Google. Well done.
Yeah. So, Richie, you mentioned this before in the pre-show what we went into, and do you want to repeat what you mentioned about Pro deals?
Yes. Well, part of the thing with the Stadia Pro subscription was meant to be deals on games out there. So when we got day one, there was deals there. I thought, great, there's our deals, and there was times on them. So my assumption was, okay, these will come and go, and they rotate around what you get. Then they came out later and said them deals were Black Friday deals, and now we have no deals, which is what they advertise as part of the subscription.
Yeah, so in a nutshell, those of us who are now left with just the Pro subscription, which is everybody who is a founder, is currently getting no discount, even though there's supposed to be Pro discounts.
Yeah.
So the sale that was a Pro deals then became a Black Friday deal. There's, as Richie said, there's now no deals. So the storefront is looking quite expensive at the moment across the board. I know things like we discussed before, again, Tom, before you joined. Metro Exodus, currently clocking in at £34.99. That is on Amazon for PlayStation 4 for $14.99.
I do think the pricing is, and I'm going to choose my words carefully here, it's not competitive. As compared to what I originally thought, that the whole purpose of this model was going to be, was that it would be competitive to what there is on the marketplace. But what we are seeing at the moment is far from that.
I think one of the problems they're doing is they're comparing their prices to the PlayStation Store and the Xbox Store, forgetting the price of physical media, which is often quite significantly cheaper. So yes, you can get these games elsewhere for a lot cheaper, which is why I think what was Metro Exodus on the PlayStation Store.
And when
I haven't checked the store.
But when you're actually looking online and you're seeing almost like a physical copy of a game that's half of the price of a digital copy, it sort of makes you start to question like what is actually the benefit of this model, because surely if you don't own the physical copy of the game, then that's a problem. So it's something Google are going to have to address with this model moving forward, because I can see it really putting some people off.
My biggest issue at the moment is I'm starved of stuff to play, and I'm desperately awaiting Borderlands to get a drop. I know it's coming in December. Where is it? I'm sure all three of us are on tender hooks to jump into Borderlands because we'll no doubt play it together. But it's actually a relatively new game that I've withheld from getting. I think Richie's the same, exclusively for Stadia. We're on the 8th of December as of the time of recording. There's not many days left, and surely they want to get it out before Christmas, so anyone who is sharing their buddy passes with friends and stuff, they can all jump on over the holidays and have some good gaming memories together.
Yeah. I've just looked up the price for Metro Exodus and PlayStation, and it's surprisingly on the PlayStation Store, £54.99.
I was going to say, whenever I've looked on the PlayStation Store, I haven't really been taken by a lot of the digital prices. They remind me of some of the high street store prices compared to if you look at places like Amazon online. Now, I know you can obviously pick up some really good deals in the sales, and PS Plus, Xbox Game Pass and things like that, they having Xbox Live, they do offer some decent discounts there. But for the most part, the digital store for Sony does tend to lean towards that sort of original price.
Yeah, I think part of this is with physical media, stores and shops and Amazon, they have to physically store the game somewhere. So when the next big game's coming out and they've got a load of old games stacked on the shelf, they'll cut the price to get it off there so they can get the warehouse space back.
It's value on space, isn't it?
That is the value of physical media versus digital.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and when it comes to digital, you've cut out that middleman, so the higher they keep the prices, the more profit margins you're taking at the end of the day. If Sony have that up there for $54.99, they're making an incremental profit on every sale of that on their digital front, as opposed to the $14.99 Amazon variant that no doubt isn't going to ship that many.
And which Sony will still take their cut anyway.
So speaking of Borderlands 3 once again, I've heard rumors through the internet, and again, you got to take it with a pinch of salt because it is only rumors, but people are throwing around the date range of between the 10th and the 14th at the moment for it. So it might be out this coming week from the time of recording.
I mean, that would be in line with all the other releases we've been slowly drip fed since launch. It's been every other week we've had something new.
And a certain live stream.
Yep. I mean, that's definitely one. If Borderlands 3 is out by next weekend, we'll most certainly be playing some of that farming simulator. What was that made up word I created earlier?
Farmulating. Was it?
Farmulating.
Yeah, that cash milk in Farmulator.
That's where you get it. Yeah, you have to farmulate the cow to get the cash milk. That can
so then Farmulator fans out there, if Borderlands comes out, sorry.
Apologies if you were looking for that, but we'll go for the AAA title. So, speaking of other deals and limiting storefront visibility, the Stadia community also came out with an announcement this week if those of you who've used the Stadia app, we mentioned it in last week's episode, you can go along to the community feed, and this is where we get some of the information from, I think it's Grace and Chris and other people at Google. They're the ones who tend to clarify most of these little niggles and questions we've had from the public. They came out with an announcement this week that they're going to limit their community updates to once a week. And to be fair, in their actual post, I think they did say that they wanted the news to be a bit more pertinent and actually relevant to what they're saying, and they don't want it to be anything to be kind of lost in the weeds of just irrelevant announcements. What do we think of that, you two?
I actually prefer it. I'd rather just jump in, get a weekly update, know when it's coming out, sit there, 20 minutes, read through it, and then move on.
Yeah.
And imagine, on top of this, if anything big does happen, they'll have to be in front of it. But as routine stuff, once a week is fine.
Once a week is reasonable, isn't it? You can't expect them to be giving us a play-by-play for every day of the week that things are happening. I kind of like the idea that they're just going to sort of like chunk it out because, as you said, Richie, it's something to read, first of all. And secondly, do you know what? Like, we'll digest it better, I think, that way.
Things get lost in noise when it comes out daily as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
definitely.
Other big news and such always comes out.
If you're expecting, like, on a Friday afternoon, like, he's the rundown for the week, we're off, catch you late next week, guys, sort of thing.
Yeah, totally agree with that. So, yeah, not much, but again, I suppose as long as it's condensed into one initial announcement, they can get the news out there, and hopefully it'll take a bit more of the headlines too. So switching over to a nice little fun story, someone noticed in the Google Stadia app, you could jump into... I'm trying to think where it was again. So you go into the Stadia app and they found a nice little Easter egg.
Oh, cool.
Can you two see this story at all?
I have absolutely no idea.
If you go on the Stadia app and you go to, I think it was Terms of Service, and if you go down where it's got the app version, if you double tap, or many times, triple tap, whatever it is, on the app version number, it comes with a little message saying, no magic powers here, winky face.
Winky face.
And that's actually a really good nod to Google, who we all know have Android. So for any of those of you out there who have Android phones, if you go into your settings and find your software version and find where it says Android version, most of you will probably be running on 9 or 10 as it currently stands. If you tap the Android version several times, you get an absolutely trippy psychedelic kind of letter P, which is for the Android Pie version, which they're on at the moment. And yeah, they've done them every iteration. So when it was Oreo, you double tapped it. One of them was a spider. One of them was a sloth. They do it for every iteration of Android, and I like how they've carried that over to Stadia in the slightest. But yeah, you get for you two looking on camera right now.
That is trippy as fuck.
There is the trippy Android version 9 number that my phone's currently running on. But yeah, it's just a little hidden Easter egg that Google always put into their Android version. So check it out on the Stadia app or check it out on your phones. And like I said, settings, software version, and just tap away.
Those cheeky little buggers.
I know. I think
hiding things away.
I feel like one of the versions was actually a cat, and you tap things on the screen, the cat kind of hit them away from you. There's been some quite quirky ones over the years because for those who don't know as well, all the Android versions are ran off. It was named after desserts. So they've had jelly bean, they've had Oreo, they've had ice cream sandwich, and a bunch of other things. So, and yogurt or froyo, I think one of them was F. It's all alphabetized, so alpha, beta, and then from then, they all went into dessert mode. So maybe we'll see that with Stadia. Who knows? Stadia strawberries and cream for those British listeners out there.
Eaten mess.
Eaten mess. Speaking of mess, let's go into another game which launched this week, and Tom's played a little bit of it. Darksiders Genesis came out this week. To be fair, that was a bad segue because I've not played the game. I've not played the game. I'm just presuming through my lack of interest in this game that
it's a mess.
It's an eaten mess. So Tom, you jumped into Darksiders Genesis this week and give it a little test out. Give us your thoughts then. Give us a rundown.
Yeah, from the get-go, graphically, really nice game, and it definitely plays like an action RPG, like Diablo, like Path of Exile. So it's really good in that sort of sense there. And the characters are still the characters from the Darksiders series, so it's all the characters people know from it. So you've got the two you play as are War and Strife. So the idea is you're playing as the Horsemen of the Apocalypse, essentially. That's the whole premise around Darksiders. You're playing as War and Strife. Now, I'm going to start off by saying here for everyone listening that this game is not for me. It's not. It's probably down to the fact that I've not played the other Darksiders games enough, but I played the first Darksiders game and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the sort of like Legend of Zelda-esque feel to it in a sort of darker setting. I haven't played the rest of them though, so when I went into this, I was slightly disappointed by the tone of the game. It just seemed a little bit too cartoony, a little bit too childish for the most part. But it still stands up. It's a really good game, and do you know what? I'd probably give it another go further down the line, but perhaps not a launch title for me.
Yeah, you've just hit on what I thought. I've played a bit of Darksiders too, and my thoughts are kind of the same as yours. Like the game, like the Zelda-esque gameplay, a few extra tweaks to that formula, which were interesting, but the tonally, I found it some weird between trying a dark, gritty story and quite cartoony visuals, and it just didn't sync for me very well.
You've got one character who's really dark and really gritty, that's War, and then you've got Strife, who I describe as basically a rootin' tootin' cowboy, yet he's one of the Horsemen of the Apocalypse. So I sort of felt like massively stretched away from the whole feeling of everything. Could just be me. It could just be me.
To be fair, it sounds a lot better than the Horsemen of the Apocalypse in the famous X-Men Apocalypse movie, where you have one who could control metal, one who had flying purple swords, and I can't even remember who the rest of them were.
If you could have flying purple swords, you'd take it.
True, but so People of the Apocalypse, it's not really been done that well in those movies.
No. Now, the one thing that was slightly disappointing with this, a little bit more so than my experience of the gameplay, was, unfortunately, for those of you being paying attention, there was a little bit of a mishap once again with the announcement of the release of it. Long story short, the Google Stadia team decided to post out at 9 a.m. GMT, our local time, that the game was now available on Stadia. It wasn't released until 5 p.m. that day. It was 9 a.m. Pacific time. And that sort of sent people once again into this mad frenzy of what the hell is going on? Like, sort your shit out, Google, and all of this sorts of stuff here. Now, you can make amends for it, but when they do make a public post on a global platform that says out now on Stadia, like available in the store right now, you sort of have to think, right, I'm going to load up the store, expect to see it there. Nothing.
If this was a one-off, I think they could just go, yeah, we made a mistake, let's move on. But it's these little faux pas are just a constant theme at the moment with Stadia.
I think it really does come down to this internal communication. I've been reading about some people's experiences online in terms of the customer service element of it. And I just want to put a caveat out there, first of all, to say that Google's team are really, really caring of the community. They really care about our experience of this. But it just seems that care is lost on internal communication.
I'd imagine the community support guys are probably the people who are the most pissed off with Google at the moment, more so than everyone taking to the internet to voice their complaints. Yeah, they're the ones who are having to deal with it, and a lot of these that Darksiders release. That's a basic thing. Get your time right.
So quick shout outs to Chris and Grace over at Google, especially on the community team, because, you guys are doing everything you can to try and keep us informed. And we know it must be a struggle for you for what it is that's going on behind the scenes there. But, we do appreciate the news you are giving us and the fact that you are trying your best to keep us informed. But somebody somewhere really does need to tidy up these lines internally, because it's such a shame that there are these little niggling mishaps, because it just looks unprofessional, and we want to knock it out. We want to knock it out quick.
Yeah, it's classic customer care, customer services is always doing the good graft and the hard work in terms of keeping everything on the front looking okay and good. I will say a definite shout out to the fact Genesis is spelt correctly on Darksiders Genesis as well, because we also have Terminator messed that spelling up.
Just don't do it.
Just
if you're going to do it, make a good game or movie.
Don't try and change the way words are spelt. Especially you Americans listen out there.
Colour has a
aluminum. Aluminum. Anyway, that's for a different subject on a different day. Final news topic of the week we had. I can't remember which of the two you dropped this in the doc, but we got some interesting facts came out of some people doing a deep dive on the Google Stadia store. I think they looked at a bit of the coding and such behind the scenes. Which of the two you dropped this in?
That was me. Basically, it's when you go into the Google store on the Chrome browser, because that's the thing you can do now. When you go into the different filters, like Best of Stadia, they come in the URL, there's a number next to it. So a couple of people tried a lot of different numbers and came up with an interesting list of things like filters that probably are coming, might not, but at least Google are prepping for them. And we're talking things like top selling, editor's choice, new add-ons, early access, popular on YouTube, demos, early access. They're the sort of things we're asking. Most gifted. But yeah, so these are things that are probably coming. The interesting ones for me are things like demos, which I think we've discussed in the past.
But don't you sort of feel that we almost do get demos anyway, only we have to pay for them, but you can claim an early refund on?
True.
Just saying. Like, if you've got the cash to spare and you want to try a game out.
Home-crafted demos.
Yeah, but quite often I think demos tend to be, if a publisher is making a demo, it tends to be a specific vertical slice to give you an experience of the game, where if you just jump into the first 2 hours and get a refund, often games take longer than 2 hours to really get going.
Hey, at least you've not got to kill your time with the download.
But that's a discussion about the pros and cons of demos anyway. But I saw this on a Stadia Source article, so if you want to see the full list, go over there and have a look at it.
Yeah. Shout out to Stadia Source, actually. They very quickly became, I think, our go-to point of call for all news articles. I think Dan Wheeler seems to be the main editor of that site. Great work so far, Dan.
Well, this is actually an article written by Dan, so...
Yeah, I think he is the go-to guy for all the news. But yeah, very concise, very on point, and you seem to be getting a lot of decent, timely news out there. So keep that up, because it makes our job a damn sight easier. See how that works, Google. Communication between people who don't even know each other, and we can somehow get the story to the point.
The nice thing Dan's actually done is he's linked every single one of the things he's found, so it takes you straight to the Google Stadia page, Google Stadia page, the blank, and it just has the heading, but there.
Oh, yeah, that is some top-rate journalism there, Dan. So well done, keep it up. So speaking of journalism and good things to segue into, we have an interesting event coming up, which Stadia will probably be quite light on the front with. The 2019 Game Awards, hosted by Jeff Keighley, where everyone from the industry will be gathering. It's next week, I believe, but it's a time unfair for us Brits. Is it next week?
Yeah, I think so.
14th, maybe. Is it next Saturday? No.
It's on. I think. In UK, it's on the 13th, but I think it's something like 1 o'clock in the morning.
It is, yeah. It's live December 12th in the US, which translates to coming out on the 13th over here.
Right, so we'll all be tucked up in bed dreaming of Google Stadia by that time. But yeah, so what we thought we'd do for the topic of the show this week is we'd actually give you a rundown of our thoughts and opinions on all the games that have came out in 2019, and we'd break down some of the categories that were best suitable to actually discuss. We are well aware, before anyone points it out in the comments or feedback, that we haven't played all of these games. Unfortunately, we do have careers and friends and family and such that we like to spend time with. So as much as we would love to dedicate our entire lives to playing these games to give you a good in-depth review, just take it with a pinch of salt that our opinions are based on things we've seen, things we've read and witnessed, and used feedback and stuff. But hopefully, as a collective, we'll be able to give you our impressions on the particular topics. So, Game Awards. Did you have something to add there, Richie?
Yes, we also have to pay for our games ourselves, so
that is true. Yeah, until we get exclusive access to all the content, yeah, it's also a costly hobby.
Yeah, if you want to help us buy more games, go to patreon.com/Sounds of Stadia.
Yeah, and donate £1 million. To be fair, if anyone buys Richie's name next week on the live stream, we'll quite happily all leave our jobs.
I'll buy a Stadia Premier Edition if you do it. As soon as the money clears.
Deal keeps getting better and better. So, Game Awards. We'll start off with them. We'll go through the categories. You can all view these yourself and still vote. You do actually still have time to vote on the Game Awards. If you want to head over to just thegameawards.com, you simply sign in, create a free account, and you can just, vote for your favourite categories. So, starting off with then, we'll go from the big one at the top. Game of the Year, which is classed as recognising a game that delivers the absolute best experience across all creative and technical fields. And the nominees are
Control, Death Stranding, Resident Evil 2, Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and The Outer Worlds.
Okay, I'm going to start this one off. Of those titles, I have played one of them, which is Smash Bros. Ultimate. Now, I said pre-show that Resident Evil 2, it's a remake of an original. Now, I've not actually played it again. I loved the original back in the day, but the other games, I was shocked by this list for Game of the Year this year, to be completely honest with you. What are your thoughts, gents? Chris?
I mean, it's been a quiet year. I think anyone can who looks back over previous years. I was going to say prior to this, then I just repeated myself twice. Yeah, it's been a lot busier in recent times than it has this year, and I think this list is quite telling of the games industry this time round. Personally, I've played Control. I was really hyped for Death Stranding, kind of all the way right up until pretty much launch, and then I don't know whether the trailers they were dropping or the confusion around it. And then once the reviews dropped, I just kind of lost all my interest in the last waning weeks leading into it. Resident Evil 2, we've discussed on previous podcasts. Myself and Richie and some other friends played through that again back on Halloween. Sekiro is another one that's kind of on my radar, but probably until it comes to Stadia, I won't be jumping into that one. I've played a little bit of Smash, but I am notoriously rubbish at fighting games.
It's true. He played Smash on mine. He was terrible.
Yeah, I just can't. I totally appreciate what it does, though. Like the catalogue and appreciation for the whole games industry is definitely on show in Smash. Although that did come out last year, so it makes this list by a caveat that the Game Awards has a cut-off point somewhere in mid-December. Or that might even be earlier than that. Hence why there is no Jedi Fallen Order, to no doubt mine, Tom's, and now Richie's dismay, because that, in my opinion, would potentially steal Game of the Year on my own personal rating. And Outer Worlds, I've only just started a little bit using Xbox Game Pass, so I've not delved enough into that to give a detailed opinion. But out of those lists, my personal choice is Control. I platinumed that back in August, I think, when it came out. Amazing game. There's some fantastic elements to that. If anyone's ever played Matrix Reloaded, any kind of Uncharted game, it kind of melds all those together with a really trippy Men in Black Area 51 vibe. And yeah, I really enjoy my time with it. I'm looking forward to the season pass when that finally drops, because I have already pre-ordered it. And out of those, without playing the others, my money is on Control. And it didn't get the recognition it deserved, by the way. It did not chart in any of the top sales, which is a shame, because I think Remedy makes some really good single-player content.
Control, for me, was one of them. It looked really cool, but kind of just came and went. I don't think it got enough of a marketing push, to be honest, compared to, for example, Death Stranding, which was all marketing push without any actual substance to the marketing.
Yeah.
And this is why I was never hyped for it, because you'd see like a trailer and it's like, but I don't actually know what I've seen. I don't know what this game is. And that was right up to launch. And then there's nothing really that I've seen since launch apart from people gushing over it that gets me interested. People go, oh my God, it's an amazing game. But seem to struggle to explain what it is.
Yeah, I've seen it's an Amazon delivery game.
Yeah.
So what do you think then, Richie? What's your prediction for Game of the Year from that list?
Well, I've only actually played Resident Evil 2 and Smash, so I reckon it's going to be Death Stranding, to be honest. It does. It feels like a bit of an influencer darling, to be honest.
Yeah. I feel like it could have been. Now, going through that list myself, I feel I've got this really awful feeling about that list for Game of the Year there. Like, I get the Resident Evil series is really good, but I don't really think it's fair to be putting remakes of games into this category, because if something like Resident Evil 2 wins, then chances are probably most of the developers out there are going to jump on that bandwagon. Sorry, not the developers, the publishers, the publishing companies. They will jump on it and they'll say, let's remake hundreds of games once again, because clearly people are only interested in them. And then we're going to end up with a really stale industry. So as much as I have respect for the Resident Evil series, I don't want it to win, because I'm concerned it's going to set a bad premise for the future.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. I've felt a remaster shouldn't get in there, but if it's a ground up remake, I'm okay with it being there. But I do actually now agree with your concerns. I just never had thought that far in front of us.
I think Death Stranding has a good chance because Kojima kind of comes with that legacy baggage that it's amazing. It's more from an artistic standpoint. It gets all the praise and the crazy storytelling. I really wish it'd be Control, because it was received quite well on reviews. But again, just it didn't get in enough people's hands. But the people who vote for this, I think the public vote actually only goes to about 10% of the overall scoring, whereas the rest of it is from industry-wide critics and reviewers.
And whether it suddenly becomes a political vote for the gaming industry, where they suddenly jump to good Kojima's support with this. My personal preference, based on very limited experience with these games, is, even though I haven't played it, I am a huge fan of the Soulsborne series by From Software. So I'd put my money with Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice. But again,
I think Sekiro isn't a choice, but I kind of look Death Stranding. Outer Worlds is probably where I've even mentioned, but when I've heard people talk about it, it's a really good game. It reminds them a lot of Fallout New Vegas, not a bad thing, but also feels like it could have just been Fallout New Vegas. It needs lacking a little bit of a modern twist to it.
It's not got anything different enough to make it stand out, which is why I think the likes of Death Stranding would do so well, because it's its own genre, according to Kojima. It is just something that's different enough, and in a quiet year, I think it does stand out. I mean, if this dropped last year with Red Dead Redemption and God of War, and Spider-Man, I think it's what was that last year? Or was God of War the year before?
It was God of War versus what was it?
It was Red Dead Redemption. God of War pretty much scooped up all the big awards. Yeah. Spider-Man did come out last year, didn't it?
It did. Yeah, 2018.
And that didn't win that was probably that third game, which is unfortunately it doesn't quite live up to it. But I think if either of those three came out this year, they'd probably mop up every single one. So if we take a note, my money's on just to score them. Let's see. My personal one is Control, but I really think Death Stranding's got it. Put me down for Death Stranding, Richie.
We can revisit this list next week.
Yeah, I gotta say, those of you listening, do let us know. Get in touch with us. Let us know your thoughts on Game of the Year as well before Wednesday next week, because obviously it's going to be approaching very quickly. But overall, my general opinion of that list, it feels weak, and that's quite sad. But
do you think Smash Brothers should be in it, Tom?
Do I think Smash Brothers should be there?
Bear in mind, it came out in 2018.
Yeah, no. I don't see, especially when you've
had
titles...
in 2018 though, because they have a cut-off. So if it comes out in December 2018, then it's classed for the Game Awards as a 2019 game, which is why Jedi Fallen Order isn't there.
But this is the problem with like recency effect as well. That
Yeah.
Smash Bros. Came out that long ago. Is it kind of just it's a has been? It's not a new game anymore. And when it comes to reviewing and critiquing it, does it stand up anywhere near the rest of them? I mean, Resident Evil 2 that came out way back in February.
Yep. Smash is a
That's
great
lucky
game.
to still be in the conversation. Yeah, it is. It's a shame.
I'm surprised it's on there, to be honest, in Game of the Year.
You've got other games that came out: Far Cry New Dawn, 15th of Feb, Metro Exodus, which a lot of people have talked about and had a chance to play in Stadia now. You've had, the awful launch of Anthem, so I won't even go there.
Oh yeah, that was a thing.
That was a thing. Devil May Cry 5, the 8th of March. You've had The Division 2, Borderlands 3. There've been a lot of games this year, realistically. I'm just...
I think Game of the Years are definitely there's a specific type of game which tends to win, and it is usually the big character-driven AAA exclusive story-based thing that I think they look for. It's similar to movies. It's never necessarily the blockbuster movies. If we look at all the MCU ones, they're trying to push Endgame for I think Oscar nominations and stuff, and Robert Downey Jr. to win Best Supporting Actor and such. It's very far and few going to happen because people think, it has to be a classic like Sundance Film Festival, like specifically.
Okay,
I think that's unfair on the Game Awards, to be honest.
No,
I think
on that note,
Oscars is more political. I think what you said at the start was that with them big games is they tend to show off a lot of different aspects of gaming, which is why I think they tend to go to the forefront of the conversation.
Yeah.
Okay, so where the hell is my Untitled Goose Game?
It's later, don't worry.
It's untitled. They can't put it in if it doesn't have a name.
It's got a couple of mentions.
It's got the best antagonist out there.
Yeah.
Geese are scary.
Should we move on so we can get an Untitled Goose Game?
All right, action game then. Let's go.
So yes, action game for the best in the action genre, focused primarily on combat.
The nominations are Apex Legends, Astral Chain, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, Devil May Cry 5, Gears 5, and Metro Exodus.
So I'll start this off by saying none of these games actually even came in my radar. I'm not interested in any of them. So I don't really have anything to say about them.
I've played Apex this year when that came out back in March as well. Surprised that's not actually in the Game of the Year for a new title that kind of took the kind of games industry by storm because it just dropped over the weekend, and it was just everybody was talking about it. Once again, made by Respawn, who've done the fantastic Jedi Fallen Order and Titanfall, which is your current game if you're a PlayStation guy for the free ones this month. Astral Chain I saw a little bit of. Don't think it's in the running at all compared to these behemoths that come out. My money, reality is Gears 5 is kind of came and went. I feel like it didn't get any of the excitement that it should have had as one of Xbox's kind of big go-to exclusive titles. I think releasing it on Game Pass kind of undercut it a little bit with the marketing. It feels like such a big launch in a prestigious game when everybody gets it for free for £1 or $1 a month. It's not your big exclusive tentpole title. Metro, not had a chance to play it, but it looked intriguing, but I've not played the previous three. So my money is on Call of Duty Modern Warfare because, once again, it is the best-selling game of the year. Graphically, it looks fantastic. A lot of people agree it's the best controlling shooter. And, yeah, Call of Duty's got it for me. What about you, Tom?
Yeah, I'm going to echo that as well. I feel like it's just cemented in there. And once again, I'm going to say it pisses me off that it is, because once again, it is a remake. And it
isn't.
I thought it was a remake of the Xbox 360 version.
No, it's brand new.
Oh.
It's just the name they've rebooted.
I reused the title.
So they've rebooted.
That's always a smart decision.
Okay, I stand corrected. I'll eat my hat. I apologize to everyone listening out there. No, okay, the Call of Duty games have always stood up then. So, yeah, I'd say out of that list right there. Apex, I really enjoyed Apex. I don't like the whole sort of battle royale type games, though, because I feel like you could join an online game and you can like literally spend most of your time spawning into a game, getting killed, and then spending more time queuing for a game than actually playing it. It's a very beautiful game, and it can be quite intense when you actually get into it as an action title. But again, I think it's going to get trumped very heavily by Modern Warfare. very heavily. As for Gears 5, based on what you said before, Chris, my concern about it in particular is that it's come very late in this console life cycle. And I think because of the distance in time between 4 and 5, that the hype has just gone for it, pretty much.
My decision is largely just based on, well, how much hype, how much buzz I've heard about games. And I've heard a lot of mention of Call of Duty. Apex, I think, is, for me, going to come in. I don't think it's far away as you, Tom, but I think it's going to be second. I haven't really heard much buzz about any of the others. They've just kind of come and gone.
Yeah, I think, general sure. Are we all agreed then, Call of Duty?
I think so on that one.
Yeah. The thing is, it's got enough marketing and kind of power behind it that I think by default, the rest of them would have had to do something really, really special to steal the action game of the year. But again, we never know. We'll see. But we've got all of our coins on Call of Duty Modern Warfare, which Tom's now going to go check out because he was under the impression it was just a remake.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to. If it is a reboot of the franchise, then I might give it a go, because I did actually, for what it's worth, I don't usually play Call of Duty games, but Modern Warfare was one that I did sit down and play the entire campaign of.
Yeah. Modern Warfare is definitely a throwback to teenage years.
I used to really like the Call of Duty campaigns, but as it went on, they just got less and less, and as they put heavier focus on the multiplayer. And I'm not a fan of multiplayer shooters, competitive shooters, so I just wasn't that interested.
Yeah, same. I fell out of love with them just because the story started getting a bit repetitive, and I think Ghosts was not well received, and that kind of killed it for me. But I did buy them every year up until that point, and I have played the remake of Modern Warfare that came out before the reboot of Modern Warfare that's just came out.
I almost got a platinum on that, actually.
Not confusing at all in any way.
Yeah, not at all. But either way, yeah, so that's that. That's all of our rings in the hat on that one. So we've all voted for Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Taking it on to the next subject, we've got the best action and adventure game, which is for the best action adventure game combining combat with traversal and puzzle solving.
So this goes to Borderlands 3, Control, Death Stranding, Resident Evil 2, Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, or Sekiro Shadows Die twice.
For the second time. Action adventure. Combat with traversal and puzzle solving. I look at Borderlands 3 and I think puzzle solving.
Is there any puzzle solving in this game?
Not really, but there's a lot of quests, so it's a lot of like figuring out where things are, but I don't really see that as being puzzle solving. I love Borderlands 3. Like, I played it PS4 and I still am playing it when I've got the chance to, in between playing everything else at the moment. But
I'm gonna push Control again, because that game is quite, in terms of what it defines there as an action adventure, it has ample action. It very much is an adventure game. It tells you a great story from start to finish around a very sci-fi kind of background. If anyone's seen Men in Black, it's got very good vibes around that, about a business that clearly deals with the extraterrestrial or creepy sciencey kind of stuff. In terms of traversal, you literally have powers that help you get up and down in a Metroid style. As you unlock new powers, similar to Jedi Fallen Order, actually, you unlock new areas, and you do have to use those powers to solve puzzles, similar to Zelda Breath of the Wild, where you can move certain elements around the room to unlock new areas. And it's, in terms of hitting that kind of demographic, Control for me through and through.
Is that your prediction of what you want to win?
That's one that I want to win, but also this is the one I don't think it'll get Game of the Year, because it's not as big as the other ones in terms of the kind of impression they've left on the industry. But I do think in terms of this specific award, I think it has a good chance in for this one. So I'm putting mine down on that, Richie.
For me, I'm actually quite biased in this one, because Link's Awakening is one of my favourite games of all time, and the new version does hold up very, very well. It's just way too expensive for the size of the game. They basically took a Game Boy game and made it a AAA Zelda, but didn't really expand on it. So I don't think, as much as I would love it to pick up the award, I don't think it will. Right, I'm actually going to go with Resident Evil 2 for this. I don't think it will be Death Stranding purely because I think Death Stranding will get Game of the Year, and I think people will be wary of just giving everything to Death Stranding when it isn't that. It isn't a God of War. It's not head and heels above the competition.
Yeah, agreed. And just to clarify, for Tom's sake, Richie, is Link's Awakening a remake or a reboot?
It is a complete ground-up remake.
Right. Did you get that, Tom?
Yes, I caught that, Chris. Death Stranding is the one that stands out for me in this category because the whole premise of the game is you have to make these deliveries in a world that is non-traversal. Like, it is very difficult to get from A to B. The whole idea of the game is it's a social comment on, will people in the same world, will they work together to achieve a common goal, or will they stand in each other's way?
And stand in each other's way.
Yeah, so when people first started getting into the game, there were a lot of people who were bridging gaps and making it very easy. So as soon as you come out the door, you've got to ramp up a really tall cliffside, essentially, that will just help you get to the delivery point so much easier. But now it seems, I was having a conversation with some friends last night, that now that the initial people have finished playing the game, it's like they've gone back to a new game plus or started a new character on it or just a new playthrough. And now people are hijacking vehicles and blocking the paths instead. So it's gone very much the opposite way. But just thinking about the category, like looking at traversal and puzzle solving alongside adventure, maybe. But I'm going to throw my hat in with Chris. I'm going to say, based on what Chris has said before, I'm going to put my money on Control.
Yeah, you do.
It just sounds like the kind of title I would expect to win that. And I feel kind of bad for Kojima because he's obviously put a lot of his heart and soul into Death Stranding. And I think it might come down to the two of them. But I'm going to stick with Control.
Kojima will be fine.
Yeah.
I think for me, the reason I go on Resident Evil is because if you look at the description, combat, traversal, and problem solving, that is Resident Evil summed up.
But it's a remake. Yeah. So this is where, again, if you've got to think of the people who are voting, how do they take that? And I feel like people who are critical in the industry who do reviews for big gaming sites, I feel like they would be a bit more conscious of it being a remake. Because, again, those puzzle-solving things, they weren't designed anew by this team. This is rehashing stuff from 15-plus years ago. So does that deserve an award? I understand it's built from the ground up, but the actual puzzle element and the map layout and everything, it's pretty much like for like. So I feel like something as specific as this category, I don't feel like it would deserve it, in my opinion.
I'm going to leave my prediction as is, but I wouldn't be surprised if you're right.
Well, we shall see.
I literally don't have a skin in the game, so well, the only one I did is that I pretty much outright dismissed. So. Yeah.
So moving on, next category is for art direction, for outstanding creative and or technical achievement in an artistic design and animation.
And the nominations for this are Control, once again, Death Stranding, once again, Gris or Gris, Sayonara, Wild Hearts, Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, again, and Link's Awakening, again.
So my personal one, what I like for this one is Sayonara Wild Hearts, because that stuff, that if you've ever seen that or watched a Let's Play of that game is trippy as anything. It's a constant, fast-flowing, art-designed one. And yeah, if you watch that, it's got some amazing beaty music with it. I wouldn't be surprised. It's actually a shame it's not in the audio design one. But yeah, you go from being on a bike to running and just plowing through this constant world that's coming at you. And it's just, it's absolutely colours and everything blended together. And if you took that whilst on acid, you would die.
Is that true?
That's the recommendation?
That might just be the acid.
Trippy stuff. Like, that game makes you feel like you're on acid. I do feel like, though, because it is a smaller title and very few people have played it, it will go to one of the clear two big hitters in all these categories, which is going to be Control or Death Stranding. I feel like from an art direction, Control does more different than Death Stranding does from what I've seen. So again, my money's on Control for this one.
For me, I kind of agree with what you're saying with Death Stranding. Death Stranding looks like a very, very pretty game, but in a quite safe kind of style.
Yeah.
It just looks very good. Control is a bit more stylized, but I'm personally going with Link's Awakening.
Okay. Which I think, in terms of a remake category, I totally think remakes are fine for this one, because art direction, it's been totally altered and changed and made to look like a 2019 game. Yeah.
And I think this art style in Link's Awakening will be timeless. I think in 20 years' time, that kind of will hold up.
Okay. It's interesting you say that, because that was one of the reasons why I was put off getting the remake. I didn't like the sort
price.
Price was never an issue. Not with a Legend of Zelda game. They could sell it to me however they want. But it just felt like they were like these clay blobs, or almost like these little 3D things. I loved the 2D element of it. And 2D pixel art and so on might start to get a little bit dated. But I just looked at it and I don't know. I didn't really feel the character designs for it. I loved the world. The world was beautiful. But the characters just sort of got lost on me.
I was with you when I first saw the initial trailer, but the more I saw of it, the more I kind of fell in love. It reminds me a bit of Wind Waker, because everyone hated the art style initially, and of all the Zeldas before Breath of the Wild, that's the one that held up the best graphically.
Yeah,
and I think there is elements of Link's Awakening. That's why I think a lot of people saw the charm in it.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. As for myself, I'm putting my money on a smaller title. I'm putting my money on Gris or Gree, depending on how it is meant to be pronounced. Please do let me know, because I'm probably completely botching it. But looking at the art direction for it, I think this is stunning. It looks so pastel-y, so abstract. You mentioned with Sayonara Wild Hearts that it was very trippy and very fast-paced, but this game to me is very calming. It's very relaxing. It takes me back to Journey. It makes me think of games like Flower and so on as well, where it just seems it's two-dimensional, but it's very watercolory and very pastel-y, and it just looks, from an artistic perspective, it just looks beautiful to me. So I'm putting my money in there because it just looks like a really, really nice, clean yet relaxing and just visually overall stunning game. So I'm gonna go with that there.
Interesting. We're split on this one. That's
To be fair, you're right. Yeah, I think that Tom, that one definitely does look really, really deep. It's that artist that when you mentioned Flower there, it made me think, oh yeah, you're right. Flower and Journey, that stylized art that you could just kind of get lost in the game. And I know they're not very long, in terms of playthrough time, but yeah, I think I'd agree with you on that one. But my money's on Sayonara Wild Hearts. So next category is game direction, awarded for outstanding creative vision and innovative in game direction and design.
So the nominees
for these.
The nominees for this.
I think we'll be quick with this one. We've already
Control,
discussed them.
Death Stranding, Resident Evil, Sekiro, and Outer Wilds.
All right.
Outer Wilds. Is this Outer Wilds? Outer Worlds. I've actually made a typo on the doc.
It'll be Worlds, won't it?
Outer Worlds.
Probably.
Game direction. Creative vision. On this one, I'm going to give it to Kojima. He always has this fucked up way of dealing with things, and I think it is innovative. It's maybe not as innovative as gamers want in terms of what they're actually looking for from the playstyles, but I'm gonna go with Death Stranding. You can have it. You can have it, Kojima.
Control. I'm putting Control's great.
I'm going with I'm with Tom on this one. I think Kojima will take this because he's done something very different.
As you though.
As a AAA title to take, quite risky.
It's just Metal Gear Solid. With some packages and ladders to carry around.
A quick point of clarity: it's Outer Wilds for game direction, not Outer Worlds.
Oh, okay. Wow, okay.
I'm still saying Control.
I'm sticking with Death Stranding, but I just want to.
Yeah. So next up, games of impact, I should say, for a thought-provoking game with a pro-social meaning or message.
And the nominees here are Concrete Genie, Gris or Gree, again, just go with it, Kind Words, Life is Strange 2, and Sea of Solitude.
I've platinum Concrete Genie. I haven't played Life is Strange 2 yet, but I did play 1 and I've heard really good things about it. But as with anything episodic, I was waiting until it all comes out because I don't want to wait. I'm too impatient. My money for this one is on Concrete Genie. It's got a lot of thought-provoking stuff around bullying and antisocial activity, and it all comes together in a lovely story with a fantastic art style as well. So in terms of games for impact, my vote is for Concrete Genie.
Well, I did play Life is Strange 2. I played about 2 episodes, but I did make the mistake of not waiting for it all to come out. So I kind of decided, right, I'm going to take a break now and then jump back in once all the episodes are out. But I'm going with Gree on this one. It's one of them. I haven't, apart from Life is Strange, I haven't really played or looked into the others much, but I keep hearing Gree's name come up in this sort of thought-provoking games of impact sort of way. So I think there's a lot of people in the industry who have a lot of time for Gree.
And I will, again, divide the vote on this one. I'm going to go with Kind Words. It's a really interesting way. It's sort of like quite nice in this world how we don't communicate with others as much. We're also stuck into our own little worlds and focusing on what matters to us, that we don't do anything nice for strangers and things anymore. And Kind Words is a game that revolves around that idea of writing and speaking very nicely to like compliment strangers and things like that. And I just think that message in this world at the moment is quite important. It's not a very big game, but the reviews for it do really stand out as being extremely positive. And I think the social aspect behind that, to me, it's got quite a strong meaning. So I'm going to go with that.
Interesting. Can we clarify what the Grease game is called? Because I think it's Grease, spelled Gris. Richie, you just said it was called what?
Gree. I think it's
And
a
Tom,
silent S.
You said it was...
I think it's Gree as well as Richie's saying it, not Gris or Grease.
Grease.
I would say silent S, Gree.
I just think that sounds the best of the three.
Yeah, it's like the French pronunciation for the word grey, Gree.
Yeah.
Well, they're wrong.
Yeah.
Same with it spelled with
English
an E, not an A.
The French are wrong.
So, yeah, speaking of the French, we'll move on to the next category, which is independent game. For outstanding creative and technical achievement in a game made outside of the traditional publisher. We have several games I've not heard of.
So the nominees are Barbara's You, Disco Elysium, Katana Zero, Outer Wilds, and Untitled Goose Game.
Can we just all agree it's Untitled Goose Game?
It's Untitled Goose Game.
It's
Yeah.
Untitled Goose Game.
Yeah.
Honk honk. Untitled Goose Game gets all of our votes.
It's all about that rake in the lake. You got to get that rake in the lake.
I haven't played it, but I want it to come out on Stadia. That's a game I'd love to have on Stadia.
It's a very, very short game. Like, you can maybe get like a few hours out of it at tops, but I've watched the development of this game through its initial creation when I first saw it on Reddit. Yeah, from egg. From that golden goose egg all the way up through to, let's be frank, for an indie title, it has had a massive impact on the gaming industry in terms of its popularity. Like, the feedback has been fantastic, and it's literally created a meme. It has generated a meme. So
it just looks fun.
Yeah, it does.
Simple.
Yeah, pissing people off as a goose and the ability to honk and waddle around. Who wants more? Like, forget Death Stranding.
I've seen so many like T-shirts just in various styles with just like instead of like a political message just says honk.
Honk honk.
That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about.
That's exactly what it's saying.
It's all about that honk.
It is. So, moving on, multiplayer game for outstanding online multiplayer gameplay and design, including co-op and massive multiplayer experiences, irrespective of the game genre or platform.
And the nominees here are Apex Legends, Borderlands 3, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, Tetris 99, and Division 2.
Now, I want Tetris to win because I love Tetris 99, but it's Apex. Apex has got this one.
You think?
I do. Apex has quietly been going very strongly. It's a bit off our radar, Chris, because we don't tend to play Battle Royale games, but there is a massive following for it.
Yeah. I'm definitely with Richie on this. Look at the success of Fortnite. Apex has doubled that success as well, albeit it's not spoken so much publicly, but Respawn, once again, they hit the absolute, like, right on the head there. It's just, it is a diamond mine. It's not even a gold mine. It's a diamond mine, that market at the moment. I would say it is a very, very close split between Apex and Modern Warfare. But I'm going to put my money on Apex.
I haven't heard much about Modern Warfare's online, though. That's the thing.
I'm going to stick with the classic answer and go with Modern Warfare. I want to deviate from the two of your answers.
Okay.
Just to, if this is the difference between us, who comes out with the most points, I want to be different. Call of Duty Modern Warfare.
All right.
Although I'd like Tetris to do it, just to throw the big all the millions that Activision and EA throw at it, and out comes Tetris from 1980. It just wipes the floor with them.
Which you can literally get for free if you have a Nintendo online subscription. I can just point out with Tetris, I finally got my first win.
Hey,
congratulations! 99 games,
many hundreds of games. I finally got my win.
Congratulations!
Faster before we know it.
So. Speaking of playing things continuously, Richie, best ongoing game is the next category, awarded to a game for outstanding development of ongoing content that evolves the player experience over time.
And the nominees are Apex Legends, Destiny 2, Final Fantasy XIV, Fortnite, and Rainbow Six Siege.
I'm going to take the lead on this one. This is an extremely biased opinion on it because I play Final Fantasy XIV. But the latest expansion pack came out for it, which was Shadowbringers over summer, and it has made that game so good. I cannot speak for anything other than, like, Square Enix have absolutely smashed it out the park with this latest expansion. Don't often see a lot of MMOs fall into this here, but my money is on this because I feel that Apex, they've added a new map, they've added a couple of new characters. I don't think that has been enough. Destiny 2, what more can I say? I mean, they've just added extra things. We've tried playing it on Stadia and we are just lost. So whether that's just a personal experience, I don't know. And out of principle, I don't want to vote Fortnite. I'm going to be honest. To all those people out there, yes, I am a hater. I'm not voting Fortnite. That's just how it is. Rainbow Six Siege, neither here nor there. So for me, it is the MMO. It's Final Fantasy XIV.
I think for ongoing support, I think Rainbow Six Siege undoubtedly has had the best to date, just because of how Ubisoft, they're on like the 5th year of supporting this game. This is probably the oldest on the list. And again, Ubisoft have many other things to focus on, so for them to keep supporting, that's fantastic. But unlike you, Tom, I am going to vote for Fortnite because, let's be honest, their season passes, their drops, and the way they change that ever-evolving world. This title is awarded to a game for outstanding development continually evolves. I don't think the others do that much to change the game, whereas Fortnite literally rips up their entire base map, rejigs it, and restarts it, and everyone pays attention to that. So Fortnite has my vote.
And mine. I was on the fence. I could have went 3 ways on this. I don't think Apex would get it because I think they're to get the multiplayer. With them being a new game this year, I don't think you can really put them in an ongoing game category. I think you have to have at least 1 year in. I don't think it's in the spirit of the category to have Apex, sir. Destiny 2, Tom said everything I would like to say on it. But and Chris has said everything I'd agree with Rainbow Six Siege, but I think it's the fact that Fortnite did that big stunt earlier in the year where they turned off the game for a couple of days and wiped the map clean.
Yep,
and
that is a brave decision.
They did a brave decision. I think they'll get it.
I do give credit to them for that, but I still don't know. It's in terms of, other than changing the world, nothing has really changed with Fortnite.
Tom, are we forgetting that Keanu Reeves was in it?
That's nice. That's really nice. But it
don't
doesn't
forget
change my
that
opinion.
Thanos was also in it earlier in the year.
Still
when
the
Avengers
biggest
Endgame.
game. It's still the biggest game in the world.
Yeah, I get the point.
And it's an ongoing game category, so
we'll see who's laughing when the results.
I like your point on Final Fantasy XIV. I really do, but I think it's Fortnite.
That's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. I hold no grudges.
Until you lose. All right, next category, Chris.
Don't lose that race, Tom. Speaking of racing games, the next category is the sports and racing game for the best traditional and non-traditional sports and racing game.
And for this, we have Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled, we have Dirt Rally 2.0, we have Football Pro Evo 2020, and we have F1 2019. Finally on the list, I don't know why I hesitated there, FIFA 20.
Finally on the list. My money's Crash Team Racing every day. Do it.
Didn't Crash have a bit of controversy regarding loot boxes and things like that?
It's so good it doesn't matter.
For a lot of people casting the vote, I think it probably will. So while I might want TI to win, I'm not convinced it will.
I don't know. I don't want FIFA or anything to win it. I don't think Formula One's got enough of a... It doesn't receive enough critical acclaim within the games industry, whereas I think like Crash is just so... I'm trying to think of the age brackets of a lot of the people who will be voting. These reviewers who work at sites probably grew up with Crash Bandicoot, and I think it's got a lot of a nostalgia pull to kind of these annualized ones like Pro Evo and FIFA and Formula One and such. I think it's got that enough that makes it different, and there is no Mario Kart in it this year. I think it'll pip it.
I am with you because, to be honest, I never hear any talk of Pro Evo at all, full stop. And FIFA usually comes up with every year with a bunch of controversy, and tends to be half broken. They have to tweak things, and they'll put more interest in the Ultimate Team rather than completely disregard career modes, which is where FIFA started. But I think it's personally, although it's not a category I'm very invested in, I think it is a bit of a weaker category. I'm going with CTR.
Do you remember back in the day? Yeah, I know. You don't need to ask, really. Do you remember back in the day, did you guys used to play Pro Evo Soccer at all?
Yeah,
back in the day.
I was FIFA.
Oh, it's a shame because back in the day with Pro Evo, they didn't have the license to actually use the real players' names, so they'd still have the players. They not. So I
think they got one or two.
They've always had these just strange player names, which just don't really make any sense. They've got like Ryan Greggs they had in there once.
Yeah, they didn't have the licensing, which is why I veered more towards FIFA. Yeah. This season alone, they've paid for exclusive rights to use Juventus, where Cristiano Ronaldo is. So actually, for the first time in a long time, in FIFA, Juventus isn't actually labelled as Juventus. It's down as whatever their original local name was before they went big time.
So
I think the licensing is a big thing in a sports game, though.
Yeah.
I think that's why FIFA has traditionally been more successful.
It's because of the amount of money they actually have to pay out for it. If you think about how expensive the industry is anyway for marketing rights, that's what it is. For sports and racing, I'm with you guys. It's got to be Crash Team Racing. It has just kept me going with this. And it's just been an absolute blast the entire way through.
It's delightful. Such good music as well.
I think it would have been head and heels if it wasn't for the microtransaction stuff, but I still think we'll win.
Yeah, I don't think that'll have an impact at this point. The people who have played it and reviewed it, I don't think it'll have stuck long enough to see the microtransactions come into it. And then final category then, like I said, we won't cover the ones that we have that little interest or knowledge of. We won't cover those. So finally, for the best VR and AR game, for the best game experience playable in virtual or augmented reality, irrespective of the platform.
And the categories are Asgard's Wrath, Blood and Truth, Beat Saber, No Man's Sky, Trover Saves the Universe.
Any of you played any of these?
I've played
no,
Beat Saber.
But I've heard really good things about No Man's Sky, like how it has changed the original game, which obviously didn't do very well. Fair play to the development team behind it, that they've really stuck with it, and they've made it into a relatively successful game. But I'm really going to struggle with this one because I don't have much knowledge of this category. The only two that stand out to me there are Beat Saber and No Man's Sky. What is, in your opinion, has the best gaming experience right here? I'm going to go to you, Chris. What do you think?
So I've not played Trover Saves the Universe, but I have played some of the Rick and Morty game, and I've also got the platinum in the Accounting Plus game, which is by the same people. It's the Roiland people who made Rick and Morty. I totally appreciate the humor. It's so funny. I've not got around to playing it yet, though. I've played a little bit of No Man's Sky when it launched, actually. And I enjoyed it, to be fair, when it launched, but the false promise that this should actually come into probably one of the ongoing game categories, No Man's Sky, the way they keep iterating on it. My I've seen a little bit of Asgard's Wrath. It looks really good, but it's not on PSVR, so I've not had a chance to get around to it. It very much looks like Skyrim in VR, where you can just grab people's heads and stab them and throw them about, and so very, very medieval fun by the looks of it. Even though it's Asgard, so it's based on Vikings, so it's not medieval. But Blood and Truth in particular is phenomenal. It's very much like it's the people who did the Getaway game. Yeah.
Okay.
Really feel like you're in the thick of the action, explosions, shooters, typical classic heist movie, a bit of race, and it kind of covers all VR tropes that you want. Feel really badass shooting people with that. However, as good as that was, Beat Saber, hands down. We're going Beat Saber, because that is just arcade fun. It's what VR's designed for. Music, swinging your arms about, feeling like an absolute Jedi on a dance mat. That's all you need. And yeah, Beat Saber has my vote, hands down. It's also the best-selling VR game every month, ever.
Yeah. I think with No Man's Sky especially, I think it's how many people, when they brought out its VR edition, jumped back into it after the initial experience. I think this is as a category, I think it's going to be hammered a lot by the concept of it being VR. There's a lot of people like go, unless you're serious about casting a vote for the Game Awards, are you going to sit down and play all these games? I think most people are going to vote for the game they've played. I think that's Beat Saber.
Yeah, it's a very niche experience, isn't it, to say that, like No Man's Sky, the virtual reality aspect of the game. So without having experience of playing any of them, I have to go again with exactly what you've said, just mirroring what you've said right there. It's what I've seen on YouTube. It's what I always see the adverts for, the Facebook videos and so on. It's got to be Beat Saber. It has to be.
Yeah, I think Beat Saber's so good at just basically promoting VR in general. It's got my vote, hands down. Right, that I think wraps up on all of our categories. There are a few more, but as I mentioned, we won't go into them. And from a timing perspective, we are into the 1 hour 20 mark, which makes this the longest episode yet by quite a margin.
Blame Jeff Keighley
and Kojima for bringing out games that we can talk about forever. But hopefully you've enjoyed listening to us discuss our thoughts. The Game Awards is on the 12th or 13th, depending on your local area. So feel free to tune in and watch that. And remember, you can still cast your votes over on the Game Awards website. No doubt we'll be discussing anything that was covered during the Game Awards come our live stream next Saturday. And it'll be on our podcast the following day. We record on a Sunday. Anything else from you two gentlemen regarding the Game Awards? Have you got any shout-out expectations? I personally think there's a new Crash Bandicoot game rumoured to be dropped.
In terms of...
Just the show overall. So aside from the actual categories, there's also rumoured to be about 10 announcements.
Ooh.
Will we be seeing a new Batman game?
That has been confirmed.
Okay.
Well, we've also got a Sony State of Play next Tuesday,
which is where Resident Evil 3 will be.
Yeah. So in terms of Game Awards, I'm hoping Rocksteady are going to finally reveal what their Warner Brothers based thing is going to be. Is it going to be another Batman game?
If it's current gen, they've got to get it out now.
Do you think we'll get a little bit more info from Bethesda on Elder Scrolls 6, Richie?
No,
not yet.
I think they've got Starfield first.
The important thing is
that was a teaser goal. We're working on it.
Fair
that
point.
was it.
Yeah, the important thing is, do we think there's going to be any Stadia news?
I don't know.
I feel like Google are going to be the elephant in the room, if anything.
The absent child who's.
I kind of hope.
Yeah.
It'd be a good power play for them to get their name out there in this sort of event, because they haven't actually got anything on the list.
Exactly. You can't miss out. Surely you can't be part of the industry and miss out on the Game Awards for that industry. So.
You know what would be awesome? If they went up, and went, Doom Eternal got and this is not going to happen. Doom Eternal got put back. Here you go.
They turn around and announce
now.
that every single winner from the game of the Game of the Year, like the Game Awards, every single winner is released on Stadia.
That would be awesome.
Now, right now.
We're going live.
Right now. Yeah, so hopefully we'll get some exciting stuff and some exciting news for next week. But
there is a hidden Game Awards category in the store.
Well, who knows? We'll find out soon enough. But that is everything we've got time for this week's show. I say time. We've already far surpassed that. Thank you to everyone out there who's listened this week. Remember, you can find us over on all major podcasting platforms. And now, as mentioned last week, you can find us on Alexa and Google Assistant. So maybe you can even ask your Stadia controller to play sounds of Stadia. And it'll hook up and start blasting that out in your home. Hopefully, you'll join us next week when we'll have our first ever live stream. So don't forget to jump over to YouTube and twitch.tv/Sounds of Stadia. Subscribe, follow, and tune in so you don't miss out on the time that all kicks off. It is Saturday, 6 p.m. UK time. That is 1 o'clock Eastern Seaboard time and 10 a.m. Pacific. So yeah, find your time, get it in your calendar, jump on over and help support us, or just watch us make a mess of our first live stream and see how well we do. Because remember, we're going to be farming corn, so hopefully you'll join us on that Farmulator 5,000.
Unless we get Borderlands.
Send us that cash milk. But other than that, I hope you all have a great gaming week. You enjoy the State of Play, you enjoy the Game Awards, and you'll join us on Saturday. So that's goodbye from me.
It's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
Thank you. We've been Sound of Stadia. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Hong Kong.